وجهات المهاجر، إعلام لا حكومة له.
I am proud to note that Article 475 of the Penal Code, which allowed a ruling judge to force a minor to marry her rapist, which is the case of Amina, and I will talk about it later, was abrogated but just 3 weeks ago. But at the same time, as a Moroccan woman, I feel ashamed to see that although the Moroccan constitution states that men and women are equal in all aspects of life, they remain unequal before the law and its implementation. I am proud that Morocco has ratified the UN Convention for the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, but I am ashamed when I learn about the exoneration and acquittal a month ago, despite indisputable incriminating evidence of a deputy who was accused of rape. Even worse, in that particular case, the victim was thrown in jail for 3 days because she was outraged and she voiced her outrage in front of the courtroom. I am ashamed indeed that Morocco ranks only 129 out of 135 countries in the 2012 Global Gender Gap Report. It ranks 126 on the literacy rate. These are troubling statistics for a country that claims to be democratic and forward-looking, especially in comparison to its neighbors, Algeria and Tunisia, which rank 120 and 108 respectively. Although many women hold posts in state administrative bodies, the justice system, and the private sector, they are rarely represented in decision-making positions and continue to be significantly underrepresented in political bodies. I am alarmed by the high rates of unemployment for women, 38% in 1999 and 54% in 2007, while men's numbers remain stable. I am also alarmed by the cases of domestic violence, 17,511 cases reported by a hotline for domestic violence that was created in 2007. The National Observatory on Violence Against Women, or UNISAIA, recently presented its 4th annual report stating that 55% of women endured continual violence, while 37% experienced frequent violence. 86% of these women are between 18 and 34 years old. 3% of married women will press charges against their husbands, but 38% will drop the charges due to the length of the procedures and their discouragement by authorities who generally look away or just ignore their complaints. I am proud, on the other hand, to see that civil society is standing up, men and women, side by side, protesting against unfair rulings. I am proud to see them protesting outside the town hall of a small town against the eviction of a woman whose only crime was to be a poor and single parent. She later immolated herself in protest against her eviction within weeks of the beginning of the so-called Arab Spring. She died on February 22nd of 2011. I am proud indeed to witness change in some aspects of people's mentality as Moroccans become more willing to address the old taboos of their society. But a huge challenge faces the Moroccan society, just like the Egyptian one actually, and its potential for progress. As Amir al-Mu'minin, the king holds all spiritual and executive power in Morocco, a country perceived as a moderate Muslim country. Yet, during the debate about the reforms of the Mudawwana, he bowed to pressures by Islamists who saw in the UN Convention and the mandatory call for reform of the domestic family law the threat of secularism. Over 500,000 marched in the streets of Casablanca to protest in defense of the family code that they perceive as untouchable and sacred because it emanates from the Sharia. These are the same Islamists who are known for their particular and highly politicized interpretation of Islam, the same Islamists who have come to power today. The only woman currently in the Moroccan government is an Islamist who is in charge of the Ministry for Solidarity, Women, Family and Social Development. She calls herself a feminist and yet espouses the most conservative patriarchal positions of her male counterparts. For example, when the young Amina Filali was raped age 15 and later committed suicide because she was forced to marry her rapist, This minister, Bassima Haddaoui, claimed that marriage between a rapist and his victim, quote, does not hold only disadvantages, unquote. She also stated on public TV that Amina had killed herself because she was too immature to handle rape, the stigma of rape. So now what next? Which solutions can we implement? Changing laws, obviously, ratifying conventions, revising codes, does not hold all the answers. These are positive steps, but they can also serve only as decorum. It does not matter that you have an article in the penal code condemning rape if the authorities will not even take the victim's deposition, or worse, tell them that they brought the sexual assault upon themselves. Governmental authorities need specific training to address instances of violence against women, and civil society holds the solution through raising public awareness on that issue and calling for the change. Personally, I believe that Arab women living in the West, just like this beautiful panel, have a responsibility to help our sisters back home by making their voices heard and raising the profile of their struggle. If not for international awareness and pressure, Article 475, that had condemned Amina Filali to wed her assaulter, we would have not seen its abrogation. In the wake of the revolts and changes that are happening in the region, it should be emphasized that revolutions have little relevance if they are not attended by progress in the social and legal status of women. When women are treated badly and are abused, society as a whole will remain unjust, corrupt, and repressive. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
قناة المهاجر، إعلام لا حكومة.